What should be the role of the security agents during the election period come February 14? Well, we're about to find out from Lionel Rawlins, security consultant of the American University of Nigeria. Welcome on the show this morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Yavijia.
Jam, Lafia.
Lafia Pilau.
Good. Now, we are looking at the role of security operatives, particularly during the forthcoming election. Now, let's limit it to the Nigerian police first, because we've somewhat talked on the military, in their campaign against the insurgents. But now, of course, we have different polling units, and some are located or situated in different sensitive areas. But of course, the Nigerian police will be deployed on such locations. So, first of all, what will the police have in mind, their duty, when they find themselves in such kind of situation?
Well, the duty, actually, not just for the police, but for all the security forces, is to ensure that all Nigerians have that free constitutional right to vote, which everyone who is eligible to vote should also exercise that right. But their job is to make sure that everyone has that right to vote and is enabled or able to vote freely, without fear, without favor or any kind of affection, just to go and do their normal duties. It's not just the police, by the way. You will have like the civil defense, the SSS, the customs and immigration, because it's a lot of work that's going to be going around. Who thinks that, are you going to let the border just stay borderless, or are you going to have people coming across the border to come into Nigeria to vote? So people have to protect those borders. But in essence, everyone has that right to vote, and they have a constitutional right to protect those people from being harassed, intimidated at the polls on the day. But also think linearly, because it's also, you have pre-election where they have a right to, they have roles. On the election day itself, they have roles, and then after the election, they also have roles to play.
And now, okay, let's look at the election day. Of course, sometimes you see a lot of security operatives come to the polling unit with weapons, and relatively, they carry weapons to halt a possible outbreak of violence, at the polling station. But what does that depict to the electorate when they see security agencies coming up with weapons at the polling center? How will that affect the mindset of the electorate?
It's normal. It happens all over the world that the security forces will go to the polling stations, and they usually take weapons. We're not living in the 18th century anymore. There can be violence from the insurgents who might try to disrupt the polls. There could be some outbreak of violence from the opposing forces. Remember, the political game for president or governor is adversarial. It's adversarial in nature. It's like two men in a ring fighting. One must emerge the winner. Both, there cannot be a draw. One man must win and one man must lose. And these kind of adversarial instances can create any kind of immediate danger, immediate set of violence, or rioting for that matter. But it's not just so much violence, it's like they're there to protect the people, the ballot boxes, from being stuffed with other illegal votes, or voters being prevented from voting, or the votes being stolen or something. So it's not just violence alone. It's so that the elections can run fairly, squarely, transparent, and where there's accountability. So we cannot just let these things and think about violence. It's also the inept and incompetent behavior and the cheating that can take place at the polls. Your security forces need to be able to stay on top of that, to make sure that these things are done properly. And they must also be fair and objective. Your security forces cannot get involved with whether it's PDP or APC. They have a job to play.
Well, I like the statement you just say that they should be objective. And of course, you know, even in the course of these interviews, started by saying that it is a constitutional right, you know, for on the side of the electorate also, and on the side of security agencies is a constitutional right for them to protect the lives and property of this electorate. Now, looking at the safety of the electoral officers now, because we've had times with that number that electoral officers have been attacked, you know, by certain class of voters or electorate who were not really comfortable with what happened. Now, do the security operatives segment themselves, one protecting the electoral officers and on the other side protecting the electorate? So how do you merge these?
But you have to protect all of them. You have to protect, for example, the headquarters of the PDP. You also must protect the headquarters of the APC and all the others who are there.
But, yeah.
You must protect the candidates as well. You must protect the property, like the computers and the laptops and all of those stuff belonging to the different politicians. You must also protect their interests, like the people who are close to them. So you cannot just protect one and not the other. You have to protect all of them. And their job is to do that. Also, you use the word property, and that is true, because I almost forgot that. One of their jobs is to protect the property of all of these people. Because one of the things that always go up in flames during elections, when things get bad, is usually the property, the businesses, the offices of the opposing force, and you just blow them up and burn them down. So you burn down all your records and everything that you have. So the object is to protect everything, everybody, not only the candidates, but the citizens who are voting, and also the property and rights of everybody. It needs to be protected.
All right, then, let's look at the place of the candidate, you know, and of course, when the security operatives become a little bit sentimental, how does that affect, or how will that affect, you know, the election when security operative becomes sentimental?
No, he can't become sentimental. He's got to stay neutral. He's got to stay focused. He has a job to do. And if he allows himself to become sentimental, it means he has crossed a line. And getting sentimental could also mean getting aroused, getting angry, or getting violent, when he's there to prevent violence. So if you're getting sentimental, you're not in any position to de-escalate a situation that's gone bad. So sentimentality has to go out the window. Their job is to stay focused, stay firm, and to carry out the law as it pertains to the people. But I have confidence that the police, all the civil defense corps, your immigration, your customs, and the military, they've done this before. And look what happened in Ekiti State and during the last elections. They brought the security force in massive forms, and they were able to de-escalate any kind of acts of violence. And from what everybody said, it was a great election, a great turnout, and everything was well. So if that is the case, let's replicate it and do it throughout Nigeria. The problem is Nigeria is too big, too large to do all of that. So find the areas that are prone to violence, that are prone to have problems, and staff and put all of your emphasis in those areas and try to de-escalate and to cut down on the acts of violence, especially like around here.
Okay, I like what you just said, those areas that are prone to violence. Now, let's look at environmental differences, you know, the disparity in environment. Those who were brought up from the other side of the country, of course, a little bit more hostile than those in the northern part of the country. And also, those on the north have this unique way of repelling grievances, you know. So how should the security operative balance their disposition, you know, to be able to, just like you say, replicate the success, you know, recorded in Ekiti to the other part of the country?
Well, they have to appear to be fair to the people. If the people perceive the security forces as being used by the government or by the governor or whoever, if the people believe that they're being used by these people, then it creates problems, because then you don't trust these people. You're supposed to trust them, not be fearful of them. So it is incumbent upon your military or your security forces to stay neutral. It doesn't matter who sends you there, just be neutral and do a fair job, so that when things happen, because you don't know, today they work for you, tomorrow they might be working for me. So they better be careful how they play the game and walk a fine line. But again, I'm almost confident that your security forces, having done this before and many times, that they can do it again.
All right, you're so much confident on the security operative that they recorded a remarkably victory before now, and you're still optimistic that they will do it. Well, when we return from this break, we're going to look at, we were talking a little bit on sentiment. Some say they are humans, you know, and it's easily for them, they are liable to be a little bit sentimental, but we'll still look at that when we return from this break. All right, we'll take a short break now. When we return, the discussion continues. Do stay with us.
Let's go beyond the news as we take you through the world of sports with action-packed commentaries and ideas that inspire. Sports Time brings to you updates on developing stories from the home scene and around the world. Watch Sports Time on TV Gold, Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 11 a.m. Don't miss out.
Breakfast show, of course, I've been talking with Lionel Rawlins, security consultant of the American University of Nigeria, and we've been looking at the security tips, particularly for the forthcoming general elections. All right, before the break, I said we're going to look at how one should be non-sentimental, particularly on the side of the security operative. So what will be the consequence now if a security operative become sentimental on an election day?
Then anything can happen. Listen, this election is very important for not just for Nigeria, but for the entire continent of Africa. Because whatever happens here on February the 14th is going to transcend all throughout Africa. If this elections go bad in any way, whether it was cheated, stolen, created by violence and rioting, it's going to go all throughout Africa. And people are watching all over the world. So Having said that and having known that, we cannot afford to have people getting sentimental or getting involved, emotionally and passionately involved in their job of securing the people, securing the place, ensuring a fair and open and transparent elections, inciting violence or being unable to prevent it. These people cannot afford to become sentimental, because sentimentality is going to lead to violence, maybe rioting, destruction of the polls, violence at the polls, and everything could go wrong after that. So I believe that these people are trained, and if they're not trained, then send the people who are trained to oversee these polling stations. Yeah. Send your most senior people and let them oversee the polling stations. But still, though, what you need is at the day after the results come in, that is when you probably need to have all of your security forces together. Talking about harmonizing the security forces. Now, let's look at the proactiveness of the security operatives. You know, what good does proactiveness, do to the generality of the public there? Well, being proactive is good. It's better than being reactive, because if you're proactive, you can stop and prevent things from taking place. Reactive, it means you're reacting after something bad has taken place. So good word, proactive. What do? Now is the time to go out and do the things they're supposed to do, like talk to the youths, put your forces in place, put your undercover people in place, find out what's going on in the camps, in the campaign headquarters, amongst the district heads. Find out, get your intelligence, start figuring out who is going to do what, who are saying what, so you can preempt it. And so you know what this camp is going to do, you know what this party is going to do, and then you can go in and prevent it from happening. Don't wait until it happens to go and prevent it. Prevent it by being proactive. Good word. All right, prevent it by being proactive. Now, let's look at the scenario, particularly the northeastern part of the country. We had elections previously, and of course, those elections